Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Ben with Studio on the Lake. Here is an intern project. Well, I'm still playing. You can see the cuckoo clock sitting in the corner there. I'm just about finished with the left side, and I'm cutting the letters out. I haven't spent a whole lot of time out in the studio and such. But here is this one. I gotta admit, I'm mixed feelings on this one. It's a waterfall coming from the top over 3 wheels coming down in the houses. This is that cottonwood bark that came from Jordy. And here's jumping ahead to a wheel, which I will show you that I made in there, and then laying it out. I suspect we're sitting at just short of 900 subscribers at this point on this. I haven't posted for probably about 3 weeks. So we've had grandkids over and been messing around with the garden and that sort of stuff. Just that summer thing. I do a lot more carving in the winter because you go out. There's my Crocs that Jordy makes fun of, the carving Crocs down there. And he makes fun of my socks. I'm surprised he didn't make fun of those jeans. They got a hole
Ben,
in them
you got
too.
Some holes in your socks.
But
an overlay.
They're your curving socks, Ben.
Jordy picks on me for socks. Hey, all of us support each other. You got Jordy over at Carving Fusion. You got Just Carve Rob, Mark the Maker. The list just goes on and on and on. I'll try to leave a lot of those folks in the description down there if I get around to it. If not, on the next video, I might even crank a video out and throw out my subscriber list of folks that when I click on my YouTube, I like to watch and see what they're up to building. Got some excellent wood carvers out there. Everybody has a different style, and they're all fun. I even follow a couple of new folks, and it's fun to see how they get the process going. So on the intern, like I said, I don't get out to the studio a lot here lately. It is summer. It's kind of a winter exercise. I do like to go out there and crank the wood stove up and go on. Hey, got a new intro there? Let me know in the comments if you like that. Once again, kind of copied Jordy's cartoon style. These are cuts all bits, which I did pick up a sponsorship to these guys, and true to form, I haven't had time to set that up yet and get that going. I got the information. It's just there's a lot of work that goes into editing these videos and then getting the description down, and the temptation is just to get them cranked out and put up something to carve. But I'll soon have a link to those cuts all bits where you can pick them up and do a little more talk on them. It's hard when you're doing these videos to figure out what people want, and I have to go by the comments on that and see exactly what you're interested in. I suspect a lot of folks just watch these videos for the fun of it, and that's where Jordy and I have a lot of fun, and Just Carve Rob and those guys. Kind of like a machinist series I follow, A-Bomb. You should check that out. He's a great guy. And this old Tony and these guys, kind of like Jordy and I, just make fun of each other. And it's all in good fun each time. But if I were to get over 1,000 subscribers, I could probably buy a new pair of socks. I don't know about the Crocs. The Crocs have been around for several years. When I carve, I get up, I make my coffee. I make it a lot neater than Jordy does. I don't spill that shit all over the counter. and I don't put cream in it, just like I don't drink water in my scotch. Holy smokes. But I walk around the corner of the house. It's probably 100 foot. I walk across the front of the house, between the lake and the house, and around the left side of the house is the studio, and I just kind of wander in there, and then I plop my butt down in my chair, turn on Netflix up in the upper corner and put on a mindless show. And my left pillow, or left side there, I've got an old ratty pillow that I rest my arm on. And the whole purpose of this is to enjoy. Oftentimes I don't comb my hair, I don't shave. I usually carve in the morning with my coffee out there and plan my day accordingly. So this is all for good fun. And like I said, we're getting close to 1,000 subscribed. We got a bunch of stuff, and it's hard to tell what people are interested in. Some of the videos I carve because that's what people are interested in. Other videos I carve just because that's something that I would do anyway. So here's the water wheel. You've been watching that kind of going on. Switching back and forth between the two hand pieces. One is older, 30,000, one's 40,000, the blue. One's got a 32nd bit in it, and the other is, I think that's an 1/8 inch. One's bigger. Now they make a collet that'll go, and as you've seen them on Just Carve Rob, and I think Jordy's covered it too. There's a collet that pops in and out of there real quick, or you can actually change the collet. Personally, I think all these hand pieces are made in China or something. Some are brushless, and then others have brushes in them. And they always send you the brushes with them. But by and large, they got the locking collet on the front there. And they all seem to act pretty much the same. This blue one's 20 plus years old. I did send it back. They put JPL Enterprises over in Minnesota, a one-man band, makes the Ultima Carver combos, which is what I run. And he's a lesser known among the carving deal, but he put new bearings in it, new brushes, and he even sent me back the old parts, and it just like new. This is actually a piece of that cottonwood bark that I pulled off, and you can see I'm reliefing underneath the water wheel. I didn't spend a whole lot of time on this. You could really put some detail into this, and it would turn out quite interesting. This is that one of 3 water wheels on this thing. All 3 of them are made relatively the same. I didn't spend a whole lot of time looking for designs, water wheel designs, although there are a bunch out there. Speaking of pattern work, there it is. I kind of like the shape of it. I think that's the back, and that's probably all the work I'm going to do on the back, just to get the relief in there. And there's where he goes on the cottonwood bark. So the concept is upper corner there's a spring in the wood, or in the top of the cliff, I guess. And that is the water will be coming out of that and then run down kind of over this front ledge here. And I'm laying that out now. That poor bird behind me there, he's been sitting over there for a year. I think I started him at a demo a couple years ago, maybe. And that's about as far as he's gotten. One of these days I'm going to have to break down and finish it. But I already got a loon video, so if you go back into my videos, and if you subscribe, it's easier to get them all. And you'll see that I do a full-size loon. That's one of the things that I do quite a bit of and sell. On the filming style, people have commented that they didn't get to see enough of how things were done, so I've kind of adopted a I'll run a slow approach initially, give you an idea of what I'm doing and the tool. I'm not going to describe the tool each time because there's certain videos out there where I do work with the tools and talk about those, so I don't want to talk about them in each video. I have a suspicion that a lot of the people that follow the channel already know the tools I'm using, and therefore you can go back and catch those. On occasion I'll put ones out. So I kind of got an idea. Obviously there's a wheel there, so there's got to be a house. So there's the house drawn out and drawn in. There's going to be a second wheel. Water comes down over that top reel on the right, down to a second wheel, and really haven't worked out the bottom of this yet. Here I'm cutting in the roof line. It is in a fantasy theme. The beauty of this is when you do it in a fantasy style, you got two challenges. One is not to make it look too cartoony, and the secondary is to make it look whimsical enough. There shouldn't be any straight lines, in my opinion. In my opinion, and $5 will get you a cup of coffee anywhere. But the beauty of some of these houses, if you want to see a true whimsical cottages, one of my favorite cities around is Carmel, California. They've got a lot of cedar shingle houses, and a couple of them are wacky, going all over the place, and that's just really kind of fun. But that's what I'm doing there, is using that burning pin to cut in the shingles. You could do this with a knife. It's just easier for me in my style. If you watch my videos, you're not going to see a lot of new techniques, just the same tried old ones that I run over and over again. Again, there's that, I run normal speed and then 3 times for a little while of these videos. I think this guy's probably got 5 hours in it, all said and told. I don't keep track. If you were to run this like a business, if you had an MBA and you had to figure out how much time did I spend on this carving, you would lose a lot of money. You know, if you pick something up, which I would think would be conservative, say $20 an hour, although you can't scoff at $20 an hour. This character has, if you had 5, it'd be $100 in the time alone, just the labor, and that's not counting the supplies, the bits, the tools, the glue, that sort of thing. So you really can't do this if you think you're going to make a living out of wood carving. The world of art is a fickle place, as you can tell. I've got a son who's a professional artist, and there's no rhyme or reason why one particular item catches on and gets $20,000. Whereas another thing that's well executed, well done, and a beautiful piece won't even sell. So if you're going to make a living in the art world, you had to get to a point where people or patrons or whatever you want to call them, folks that follow you, are interested in your particular stuff, and then somebody highbrow has to get in there and decide that your stuff is great and everybody wants to collect it. I don't carve for that reason. I carve because I enjoy it and it's relaxing. And everybody needs a hobby or two or three. So there's a really good example of how I put a roof in. And you can see I've got a second house right below that. At this point I was thinking, do I have a staircase going up, a little door going into the side up there, something, no particular design. I kind of had an idea of of a waterfall going down the cliff, hitting a water wheel. And then I thought, well, if one is good, then two is better. And then if two is better, then three must be awesome. So, and then at some point I decided that the wheel on the front need to be a clock. I'm not particularly enamored of this piece. I do like the first two that I did. Go back and check those videos out. This one, you can take it or leave it, and you'll see at the end, you can tell by the effort that I put in on painting these generally, or finishing, as to how well I like it or not. And ironically enough, whether I like it or not has no bearing whatsoever on how other people like it. Certain carvings that I love and think are awesome, people look at them and go, oh, wow, nice. And then other things that I don't particularly like, people get all giddy over when they're not making fun of my socks. Man, I can't believe a guy looked at my socks. I have to re-nickname that guy Socks Johnson. That's a saber tooth burr, and they're yellow, medium cut. It's kind of the only ones I buy anymore. They seem to cut just as well as the red, and I think the green, which are a little bit more aggressive. This one's pretty aggressive, and I don't have a heavy hand when I'm carving. I'm not like Jordy. You don't hear. I don't like the sound of the dental tool in the background, and therefore I, as you know, do voiceovers on the video, and two reasons for that. One, I have no idea what I'm talking about when I'm carving. I couldn't do it. I can't carve and talk at the same time. And two, I do run the TV in the background or music, and then you have the constant whining of the tool. And if you were to hear my tool whining, you wouldn't hear it going and getting ground down like Jordy does, heavy-handed Jordy. He runs his almost to a stop. These tools will, they do have a safety feature on them. If you're running it pretty heavy, at some point it will overheat itself and shut down. And it's a simple matter of having to drink a sip of coffee, turn it off, have a sip of coffee, and give it 30 seconds, and then it'll turn back on. So there's a second wheel. I didn't, they're put in with acting like they're going to turn, but I don't really think they are in the end. So I got the two of them together. I was thinking more houses, what do we do? But there's this little outcropping, so you got the water comes down, hits that wheel, comes across this, and it's kind of sticking out, and I figured it could catch another one. And then I think here's the reason I'm not real fond of this, the clock face. I bought them for a lamp piece by my chair because I like a little clock there. When I retired from the military, I decided I wasn't ever going to wear a watch again, and so I keep a clock beside my chair in the house. And this came as a group of 4. They were pretty cheap, little battery operated, and I think the style of it might be a little too fancy for what we got going here. And I didn't bother to go back and look and see if they made some ones that might be more appropriate for the design element. So we're setting in the face for the clock. It needs to be able to come out because it does have a stem on it. It is battery driven, and at some point it will either A, lose the time, or B, will need a new battery. So you need to get access to the stem and the back of it. You can see that I'm just whittling down. It has a bevel. Give it a little bit of a surface when you pop it in there and let it catch. And I just work that around and around. I could probably do this with a big Forstner bit. In fact, I have some that would probably do that just fine. But again, part of this is sitting in the chair, not getting up with the pillow under my arm. And if I have to get up and walk around and look at it, it could be, that bit could be in any one of three places. It could be here in the studio. It could be across the lake lot in a little shed over there that has tools and such in it. Or it could be out at the woodlot, stuck in the tool room out there. And ironically, if you have more than one place that you can put your stuff or use your stuff, whatever you need next is always not where you are. And you have to consciously plan. It's kind of like getting up and going to the kitchen to get something and coming back with something completely different. And about 10 minutes later going, man, I need to go back in there and get what I originally went to go get. So sticking with the same theme, the water will catch these little pockets. I guess these are called Overshot Wheels. In the parlance, I really like old windmills and the way they're put together. The mechanics of them is pretty neat. Here's another one of those saber yellow. A lot of mine you can't tell what's going on there because eventually the yellow paint wears off. I clean them with a little micro torch, same ones these chefs use to make the meringue the right color if they're making a lemon meringue pie. But if you take that little torch and don't get it too hot, it doesn't lose any temper, but it does burn all the resin and all the crap that's on there. You can see I'm using the depth of that as a reference. I kind of got an idea how far that tip's going to go down there. This is the back, and I just needed to relief it away. And now I'm cutting through to get some light in there, not necessarily to finish off the detail, but make it look like these are separate pieces. There you go. So the clock is set up and ready to go in there. Now it needs a little oompa on the front here. I decided to go probably with just a real simple deal instead of spokes. I don't start off with a full design in mind. And the few times that I do start off with something where I really got an idea how it's going to end up, about halfway through, that whole thing crashes and burns and ends up something completely different. And sometimes it is true. It just gets tossed over in the fireplace there. Like here's the front of this. I threw a design on the front of this and I didn't like it for some reason. I don't recall why, but I didn't like the looks of it. And so I went back in and made everything flat again and changed it. So these things are kind of built like half-timbered houses. It gives it kind of a unique look. That way you can leave the timber frame out there. If you've ever been to England or Germany, you name it, Denmark, Belgium, which I've been to, Bruges, It's probably one of my favorite places in the world for the half timber houses in the old style. And inside of the frame they put wad and dowel, and then nowadays they stucco over and leave the timber exposed. So that's what these do, and that's where the white comes in. The windows are whimsical. You can see this one I decided to go with a round. And just enough detail that when you hit it with the paint, as far as painting goes, I would rather not, in a lot of cases, paint if I can get away with it. I like the wood look. This would look fine, I would think, with just the shellac. I do like the burn look. Kind of delineates and shows kind of where you're going. Wood carving is about shadows, planes and shadows. There's some fantastic carvers out there, and the old school carvers. They knew that light and shadows. You can see these shingles are pretty much there, but when I burn under them and relief them a little bit, that lets the light delineate off of those. So carving is about planes, flat planes, square planes, and then the way that the light plays off of it. And if you're using tools, hand tools, which I use less and less nowadays, because there's a sort of an amount of work in those, and you got to keep them sharp or they frustrate you. But one of the goals is to leave the tool marks. If you typically, a lot of times, if you sand it all down, you lose those tool marks, and the tool marks are in several cases what really makes something look good if you're doing hand carving with the old tools. So at this point, right here, I'm thinking I must have decided that this didn't need a staircase going up, and it just needed to be the cliff with the houses going out, and then the water will come right there where my thumb is down, hit the top of that wheel, and fade away to the bottom. And when I paint this, it'll make perfectly good sense. So this needed a little. This is the stone or the cliff work that's going to be left, and that's what I was laying in there. So at this point, I kind of like the view of it. Like I said, the only thing I really don't like about it is the clock in the front, but it's a little bit too late. And I kind of committed myself to this. I do love this cottonwood bark. At some point, I'm going to have to make a drug deal with Jordy and get more. He sent me a ridiculous picture when I commented on larger sections, and he's got given away a secret. He sent me a picture of about 3 or 4 8-foot tall sections of bark standing against his shed back there. That's pretty awesome. We live up northern Wisconsin, and I would think that the cottonwood, it says it grows up here, and we've got Lake Superior, just like Jordy, walking over on the beach there, and there is some driftwood there. But I have yet to come across cottonwood bark. You think there would be? All right, so here you can see what I've done. I've took strips of wood and super glue and building kind of a waterway flow. I'm thinking that these are in there for the paint, to let the paint flow down and look like water. I want to show it actually hitting the upper wheel, the middle wheel, and you can see it's just a nice thin strip. Something to hold that paint. And I wanted it to come off of that wheel and hit that ledge. And at this point, I'm thinking large globs of paint. When I paint, I use Josonia paint. You can use any acrylic paint, obviously, from anywhere. But I used Josonia and have for years. Started using it on the waterfowl and the birds because of the opaqueness of it and the way it layers. but you can put it on with a heavy hand, and it works just fine. So I figured that piece didn't need to go any further. The super glue has it on there. Alright, so this can be quick. I did a video on how I paint, and you'll remember I talked about the timbers. This one is really tight. There's not a whole lot of there's a whole lot of timber and not a whole lot of wad and dabble in the middle on that. So I'm not real careful with this because I'll come back and grind some of that paint off if it gets where it's not supposed to be. It's a simple matter of just grabbing a grinder and taking that out. You can see there's an example of it. I will bring the crap back out. I do apologize for the filming. That's just my current filming. I shoot pretty wide angle on this from probably 4 or 5 feet away, and then I take my mug out of it, and because for some reason my gray hair and anything white just has a tendency to suck the focus in on that. So here's another thing that a lot of people will do, but I'm impatient and I don't want each layer to dry. You can see that I've kind of goobered that over. So here's the thing pretty much done. And like I said, I like it but don't like it. I went with some wild colors on the rocks, the greens and whatnot, and coming down, and it flows down over the whole thing. I like it and I don't like it. Maybe I'll look at this thing in 6 months or a year, hang it on the wall. If it's still here, someone doesn't confiscate it. I was looking at the water. I should have highlighted some of the water in there probably. But I do love carving this cottonwood bark. And you can see there's the cuckoo clock in the corner there. My carving Crocs, my carving jeans. There are some aspects about this I like, and then other I don't. So go ahead and subscribe by all means on this, and check out those other guys, Jordy and Rob, and you can get some of my other videos. Hey, this has been Ben with Studio on the Lake. Thanks for watching.